Jenny Wheels, October 31st, 1986. I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing this. Dad said Halloween was evil, but Mom said it didn't have anything to do with Satan, and it seemed like so much fun. Sure, some kids dressed up as monsters, but there were just as many kids dressed up as superheroes, robots and stuff, and Dorothy wasn't scary. But then again, every time we wanted to watch that movie, we had to sneak over to the Johnson's house. But this year, Dad was away for work. He was supposed to be away for a few more days hauling stuff for the truck company. But Mom was sneaking over to the Johnsons to make my costume. We didn't have a car when Dad wasn't around, so she said it was just to get me new clothes and some groceries. Mom and Mr. Johnson were taking Stephanie Larson's old dance shoes that didn't fit her anymore and were a tad too big for me and coating them with glitter. Then they stuffed them with the tissue paper from the real new shoes I got and put them in the dance shoes so they wouldn't fall off. So they didn't look like the ones Dorothy wore in the movie, but it was enough that people would know what I was supposed to be. Mrs. Johnson brought Mom and the costume to school so I could be in the parade. I wish dogs could come to school, but Wendell was there when we went trick-or-treating for real. Almost the whole neighborhood must have known about it. I mean, I knew the Johnsons would be there. They were lending me Wendell. He's a Yorkshire Terrier just like Toto. And Kyle was the Tin Woodsman. Danny was the Scarecrow. Their dad was the lion. We were supposed to be keeping it a secret so Dad didn't find out, but some of the parents with toddlers must have found out because some of the little babies went as munchkins and flying monkeys. It was so much fun until we got home. Dad was there, and he was angry. There were a few beer cans out. Mr. Johnson had taken me around trick-or-treating, and Mom, her eyes were all swollen up. Mr. Johnson looked like he was going to punch my dad. Part of me wishes he had. Part of me wishes he was my dad. I knew what happened to Mom, and this whole thing was my fault. I didn't hit her, but I went trick-or-treating. I made Daddy do it. Jenny Wheels, October 31st, 1987. It's been a crazy few days. We drove to Philadelphia. Mama sold the car. She'd been the one driving it ever since the policeman took Daddy's license away. From there, we hopped a train somewhere else. I think it was New York, but I'm not sure. From there, we got a plane to Chicago. We were in these strangers' basement. They had some kids who were a little older than me. Their last name is Wilkins. I looked around their house. I saw a few pictures of Kyle and Danny. I asked how they knew them. They said, "Oh, those are our little cousins." I heard Mr. Wilkins say, "I showed my boss your resume. You have all your paperwork and certifications, right?" Mom said, "I have photocopies. I sent the original here as cheaply as I could. They should arrive soon." Mr. Wilkins nodded. We stayed there for several months. I don't know why the Wilkins are so nice to us, but they were. Once Mom's job was more steady, we moved out. Not that far away, though. The Wilkins stopped by, sometimes just to check in, other times for big barbecues. I see Mrs. Wilkins almost every other weekend for Girl Scouts. Jennifer Wainwright, October 31st, 1994. Mom had taken Julie, Nick, and Rodney out trick-or-treating. Okay, I get why Julie and Nick should go trick-or-treating. They are 9 and 7, but Rodney? What does a 3-month-old need with candy? He doesn't even have teeth. Unless it was really an excuse for her to get Snickers for herself. It was my first year passing out the candy. Okay, John was still here, but he was sitting there watching Monster Squad on TV. Wait, my mom with his kids John and I here. This is one of those let's bond with our blended family things, isn't it? And I don't need that. I love John. For the last 3.5 years, he's been more a father to me than, well, my own dad. Of course, I haven't seen my dad in 5 years, but that's probably good. I mean, he never hurt me, but he did a number on Mom. But John was the one who taught me how to cook, helped me finally master tying my own shoes. When I had to bring someone in for career day, it was always him. I mean, my mom's job is a dental hygienist. It's an important job, but I'm sorry, if you're a socially awkward new girl in school, you don't want to get picked on for at least 1 day a year. You don't bring the woman who cleans kids' teeth. You bring the former shortstop of the minor league baseball team turned local sportscaster. And for Christ's sake, I took his last name when Mom got remarried. There was a knock at the door. At first, I thought it was a trick-or-treater, so I grabbed the dish full of candy. As he got closer to the house, I saw it wasn't a teenager too old to be getting candy going out anyway. I see no problem giving them candy if they put real effort into a costume. This was a short, middle-aged man dressed like, well, what everyone thinks a detective looks like thanks to Hollywood. John looked at me. "Stay back, Jenny," he said. He grabbed his bat, the one given to him by some former teammate who is now a big shot for the Cubs. He swatted it against his other hand as he approached the man. "Mr. Wainwright, my name is Charlie Grizzell. I've been hired by... I've seen you snooping around the neighborhood, so yeah, I know who you work for. Laura might think she's gotten away, but I knew someone like you would come. Go back to Toby Wheels. Tell him to crawl back into his bottle of wild turkey. I still got friends all over the league, including a guy who plays for the Bowie Bay Sox. He owes me a lot. Enough that if I asked, he'd make a pit stop to Baltimore to use Wheels' head for batting practice. No questions asked," John said. I could tell he was bluffing, but only because I knew John. I know. I suspected as much before I left Baltimore. I saw the restraining order. I saw the custody hearing, which she got by default, by the way. The bastard never showed up. She was living with him at the time. I don't think he thought she had the guts to leave, Grizzell said. I stepped up from behind John. "So, what do you want?" I grumbled. "Ah, you must be Jennifer. This doesn't concern her," John said. "Unfortunately, it does. Your father wants to see you. Then he can turn around," I said. "No, not John. Your real father," Grizzell said. "I know what you mean, and if you think I could ever consider a man who beat my mother, didn't let her get a full-time job so we could move out of that hellhole, tried to instill closed-minded racist bullshit into me, would buy himself a 6-pack of beer when we were struggling to put food on the table, often leading my mom to rob the church like Jean Valjean? If you think I could call that guy my father, you're some kind of lunatic." "I understand, and I want to help you," Grizzell said. "Why?" I asked. "For starters, he sent me across country on this case, and parts of it turned out to be not quite so legal. I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing," Grizzell said. "I've never heard of a PI with ethics before," John said. "There are plenty of us out there. But there is a problem," Grizzell said. "What sort of problem?" I asked. "Before I checked for the renewal of protective order papers at the county courthouse, I sent a letter to Wheels saying I found something," Grizzell said. "You..." I shouted. John smiled at me. He tended to yell at me for swearing, but not for the reasons you think. He didn't like ill-timed and inappropriately placed profanity. He was a firm believer that every word had its time and place, but at the dinner table, when your little brother is around, isn't that time or place. He did, of course, let himself off the hook for saying when lecturing us on not swearing. I must have gotten it right since I've done it twice without him complaining. "That sounds like a you problem," John said. "No. If I don't report back, he'll send another detective, and another. But I think I can stop it," Grizzell said. Why help us? I asked. Easy. My old man was a piece of shit just like Wheels. And I have a solution I think works out for everyone, Rizal said. I assume you have access to the TV station's video editing suite? Rizal said. Yeah, why? John asked. He's not the brightest bulb. I doubt he still has any insurance policies on Jenny and Laura. Unless he's already forged a death certificate to collect on it. And he's not good at remembering stuff. He'd forget to ask for a death certificate, especially when he's drunk. Which is most of the time. I'm the type who goes that extra mile for my clients. I have meetings at their homes when needed. When I go there, he doesn't even remember to wear pants, Rizal rambled. Your point, John grunted. We create a fake news report. You give me the tape, I send it to him. It confirms what he already believes. He stops searching for you. And hey, when a client asks for something illegal like violating a protection order, I'm allowed to lie, but I can still collect on unpaid expenses for work completed. Which means we all get what we want, right? Rizal said. I think that's up to her, John said, pointing at me. Jennifer Wainwright, October 31st, 2005. Most of my friends had already graduated from college. For, well, various reasons, I didn't get to go at first. I did 2 years of community college, but only about half those credits will transfer to the nursing school at Johns Hopkins. But after a few years of struggling, I've got the financial aid and other issues taken care of. My mom is a little less than pleased. I get why. There is risk of running into Dad. But I need to get away from Illinois. And I'll be so close to a whole new world. But one that's not so alien that I won't lose my way. And John says he couldn't be prouder of me. Baltimore is a long way away. But if you need anything, just call, he said. And I thought, by Parents' Day, things would have improved. Especially since they traveled all the way from Aurora to visit me. But you know how parents are. After all the trouble I went through to get us out of Baltimore, I still don't get why you came back. Why would anyone want to live in the middle of this shitstorm if they didn't have to? Mom asked. Maybe I have to, I stated. Why? Mom, this is one of the best programs for nursing in the country. Plus, I feel like I belong here. Maybe because of what I left behind, I replied. All you left behind was an abusive, bigoted religious zealot, Mom said. I tried really hard to keep her from looking at my laptop. I had been searching for Dad. I thought after all that happened, he would have moved. And I guess he had, because for months I couldn't find anything. At least from the information sites you didn't have to pay for. Jennifer Wainwright, October 31st, 2007. These were sort of the last days when you could find anyone's address free online. I had this information for close to a year and went to all this trouble. What did I have to show for it? With the same damn apartment. And for whatever reason, I just hadn't been able to bring myself to do anything with it until now. I don't know why. Okay, I do. I remember hearing something awful happening in the old building on the local news a few days after I moved back to Baltimore. I was studying, so I wasn't giving it my full attention. The news was background noise for my homework, and that creepy stuff was on top of all the other ghosts. I figured if I had to face ghosts, tonight would be the night to do it. Something about this place brought back so many memories. I remember Mom and I used to have a secret knock. One to let each other know it was us. Everyone and their grandma would use shave and a haircut. Not me. Mine was Beethoven's Fifth. Out of habit, I knocked. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The man who answered wasn't my dad. He He was tall, thin, and just shy of being muscular. His brown hair was frazzled. He was dressed in a Thundercats t-shirt. He looked like he hadn't shaved in a couple of days. And there was something ever so familiar about his smile. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I used to live here. I checked online, and it said it was my father's last known address, I said. And the rest, as they say, is history.